Hel- Hello, hello, hello. Um, I've I've not been live for a little bit here, not on this channel at least. My name is Marie, and I mentioned it in a chat in a live stream a while ago. But I have hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, and I wanted to make a video that was basically I've been wanting to make a video, but I keep forgetting, so I'm doing a live stream tonight because process starts really tomorrow. Um, when I've been looking for videos about s- the process of starting to get a wheelchair, um, a lot of the time, the videos that I've found are for people who have paralysis issues or people who literally are receiving their first wheelchair, but there's not much on the process until then. So I decided that I would try to document this as best as I can. Um, and so a 1 a.m. live stream the day of my first trial chair day is what I'm doing. So my my process in deciding that it was something that I needed was very much a moment of I was going to the grocery store and I literally had a moment where I stood up and I looked at my partner and I was like, I literally cannot do this grocery shopping run. I literally cannot stand long enough for that to happen. So um I ended up taking one of the courtesy wheelchairs at our local Sobeys. And that was the first time that after doing grocery shopping, I had energy to do anything. I was still in pain because I was originally in pain, but I had energy after my 40-minute grocery shopping run, um, which usually was not a thing. Usually I'd do my grocery shopping, I would put away the groceries, and that was it. I flop, I no longer exist. I have no energy left for the rest of my day. So that happened back in like September. I was like, okay. So I schedule an appointment with my physiotherapist, find out my physiotherapist no longer works there. So set up an appointment with a new physiotherapist. Still wonderful, has experience with EDS, so that's great. And um it is nice to have a different perspective on things as well. Um and so right now my mobility aids are just my cane. I do use crutches if necessary, but I don't like own my own crutches. I probably should. Honestly, probably should. Good idea to have them, but I really only use crutches when like something drastic happens. So I've always just ended up borrowing them from physio. Um and the cane has helped, but I'm past the point that having something to lean on to relieve pressure for a moment helps enough for it to be worth the hassle of bringing a cane with me, if that makes sense. So I was talking to my physiotherapist and I was like, look, this is I've been now on my grocery shopping days, I've been using the courtesy wheelchairs and they are clunky, they're heavy. You could fit two of me in the chair because I am very petite. Um and so it's not necessarily the safest thing for me to be using those chairs, but it's safer than not. I'm not at a point where my shoulders are a problem right now. I can't lift anything. If I if my arms are going up, then that's a problem. But pushing and lifting things like that doesn't make my shoulders go up, that's not an issue for me. I can push things, I can pull things fine. And I don't have a lot of issues with my upper body. Ultimately, might become a thing if I use my arms more, but I don't have much issues when it comes to my upper body. So it's a balance, right? So we talked a bit about that, and they were like, "Well, what about a walker?" And I'm like, "I mean, it would be a good idea to maybe get one of those too. However, the wheelchair is going to be the harder one to get, um, and it's going to be the one that's going to benefit me the most right now." And push comes to shove, if I'm feeling up to walking, I can just push my own wheelchair, put my stuff on the chair and push the wheelchair to get where I need to go if I get stuck and can, because my legs do work. They just do not work well or reliably. Um, my knees and my hips like to dislocate, and my lower back um, often feels like someone is stabbing me and twisting a screwdriver. So, not pleasant. Um, Plus the fact that I have extra bones in my feet. Back in 2015, I rolled my ankle wearing properly tied sneakers on a flat surface. Just stepped out and my foot completely went like it was flat and it went floop. And I put my full weight on it and they thought that it was fractured. It was not. They then they took x-rays and they're like, "Oh, it looks like your like bones are fused. Great. That's great." Okay. Um Nothing that we did helped that, so I ended up going to see a um uh orthopedic surgeon and got some MRIs done. Turns out that no, I just have an extra bone in both my feet. That's the size of a golf ball. That there's nothing that we can really do um because the risk of doing anything because of the placement, the risk of us removing it is that I wouldn't be able to walk at all. So we don't want to touch it unless I get to the point that I cannot walk at all and I'm not there. I can walk. I'm not currently I'm currently using courtesy wheelchairs. Um there are days where I'm like I definitely would have used my wheelchair um if I had had one with me, but it's not something that I've not rented a wheelchair yet to have at home while I'm waiting. Um so I talked to my physiotherapist, we had that discussion, and he said, "Okay, talk to your doctor." So, went to my GP, and she's like, "Okay, I see where you're going. I see you've thought about this a lot." And we talked about the things like, well, if you're sitting a lot, you're not going to be moving as much. I've already gone from working as a server to working a desk job. So I've already gone from the walking 20,000 steps in a day to 4,000 if like on a day that I walk a lot. So I've already done the moving to sedentary movement. Um, and for me, I've stopped doing things that I like to do. I purposefully didn't go to Halcon this year because of two things. One, I had said that I wasn't gonna do any conventions until the end of 2023, um, just because of the pandemic. Um, but 2, even when it came up and even when tickets went on sale and everybody was like, "Oh, no, like, you should go, like, we should go, it'll be fine. You've already gotten COVID, it'll be fine." I wouldn't have been able to enjoy myself. Realistically, thinking about how much I walk during a convention, how much I'm standing, how much I'm waiting in line, I, even with my cane, wouldn't have been able to enjoy myself. Um, Even the HalCon in 2019, before before things started to get really, really bad, Um, even then, before I stopped, before uh, quarantine and all that, I was exhausted. I didn't go to half of the things that I had planned to go to. I didn't have the energy. I took a nap midday, um, and I was in so much pain. And it just got to the point where I didn't enjoy myself, and I spent thousands like $2,000 to go to an event and for hotels and gas and, like, money for food and merch and all that stuff, and I didn't enjoy myself at the end of the day. So, that happened. So, I didn't go to a convention that I go to every year, and I I play Pokemon Go. I've not been enjoying that as much because I don't have the energy to do the events that like the community day events and all that. I don't spend any time outside. I don't go to the mall. I don't go doing things because by the time I have walked from my apartment to basically the end of the parking lot for my apartment building to the bus stop, and then from the bus terminal to my work, which is literally like you cross like it's like the opposite corner of an intersection. Go up to the office. If I have to run to the printer, run to the printer. If I have to like go to the washroom, go to the washroom. If just the little bit that I walk at my job and then come home, I already don't have enough energy to do anything else. So we don't go out, we don't go do stuff. And it's frustrating because I like going out and doing stuff. So basically, the thought process was I've stopped doing things that I like because I am in too much pain and I'm mentally thinking every step that I take, I am paying attention to where my knees are and where my hips are and where my foot is hitting the ground with every single step. And it's exhausting. And so we me and my GP, we talked about it and she's like, I think that it would be a good idea to look into it. Let's have you talk to an occupational therapist. Okay. Went to an occupational therapist. I already needed to go see them because I needed these finger splints were too long. So we made some custom ones because they don't she tried to mold them. Hi, cat. She tried to mold them, but it didn't work well. So we made some custom ones, and while I was there, she's like, "Okay, is there anything else that?" And I was like, "Well, my doctor mentioned about this. She wasn't sure if, like, what the process would be." Hi, hello. She wants to be involved. She's like, "Why are you still awake?" I don't know, why am I? She's like, "You're not supposed to be up here. Come on." Oh, you just want to lick my hair. You just want to lick my hair, and you and I both know this. Bloop, 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 bloop. Okay, get down. Okay, go that way. She likes licking my hair when it's wet. So we went to the occupational therapist. Honestly, I'm in that position where I don't need the wheelchair for my apartment. If the apartment's a little bit of a mess right now, but like there's my bedroom, the bed's, like, literally right behind this wall. There's the dining room chair, there's the couch, and the most that I step between any chair in this apartment is, like, 7 steps between any place that I can sit. So I wouldn't really realistically use it in this apartment. But within the next 2 years, I'm not gonna be living here. So it's the question of, okay, well, because I'm not using it at home, I can't go through extramural. So then where do we go from here? So basically, what's going on is that my occupational therapist is aware of the situation, has taken my measurements, has said, this is what we're looking for. I've done some research on my side. Right now, it's basically come down to I'm probably going to be getting the heliocarbon fiber. That's the most likely one. It's either going to be the what is it? Motion composite helio helio C so motion composite helio carbon fiber or the Apex from the same company. Basically, it's a do we get the rigid or the folding? The rigid would weigh less, um, but it will be harder to transport. So those are the questions that we're looking at right now. Um, Probably going to end up going with the Helio though, because it'll be easier to put in the car. Um, it should fit in my car with the wheels on. So I won't need to mess with the wheels as much, because my as the finger joint, the finger splints, you know, imply pressure on finger joints is an issue. Um, so basically, we've gone in the okay, you can't go through extramural because you're not using it at home. So basically, we're just kind of winging it. It's a there's nothing specifically that I need other than a chair. I need it to be a light chair. I need it to, you know, I need my partner to be able to push it if that is needed. Um, I need it to be lightweight and uh, I need it basically, I need me to be able to manage it. Um, and I'm not at a point where I need a a completely um electric chair because one, I can't manage that on my own. We just have a little like four-door car. Um, we wouldn't be able to fit an electric chair in our car. So it just wouldn't be a feasible option anyway. Um, and my arms still work. So basically we're going for the lightest option possible for everything is kind of the goal. So I did have I'm in the Fredericton area. I did have an appointment with one of the 3 vendors in the area, back in October when I had my first like, basically a week after I had my so I had my physio appointment a week after I had my GP appointment, a week after I had my OT appointment. Um, and it just happened that, like, I managed to slip into appointments, because of cancellations. I just managed to kind of, like, slip in there, um, get some paperwork filled out by my doctor for, disability tax credit. If you have a disability parking pass, the criteria for walking are the same. Fun fact. Um, I don't do accounting or anything, but if you live in New Brunswick in Canada and you do have a permit, disability parking permit, look at the tax disability tax credit paperwork. The requirements are the same as getting a New Brunswick permit. So look into that. So anyway, we filled out the paperwork for that, got that, but also did the talking about the wheelchair. I have literally my prescription literally on my fridge from October because we saw one of the vendors for my insurance. I need two quotes from two different vendors, and we have a preferential relationship with Lawton's. I'm convinced that Brad from Lawton's doesn't exist. Let's put it that way. We got answers from everyone fairly quickly when we first reached out. Um, I got, I went to see, oh, Embercore. We did a quick with what trial with what they had. They literally had the heaviest of everything. So basically, it was yeah, no, this is not the chair. um, and then we were in touch with Brad from Lawton's, um, and uh, we heard from him on October 21st. I've then sent follow up emails. My occupational therapist has sent follow up emails. I have called multiple times. It's the only time that either of us have heard from him was October 21st. So after a couple months we were like, okay, um yeah, no. If you're not going to answer us, we're not going to work with you. So we I well, today, in like 14 hours, I actually have an appointment with Tango Medical to get a trial chair because they have a chair that they're going to basically set up, send home, and see if that works for what I need. And then we are going to go from there, from what I understand. And hopefully from there, uh, I'll know a bit more tonight. Um, but once we have the trial, then we can start going and getting quotes from Tango, and I'd probably go to Embercore for the second one and get quotes, send that to my insurance. Because I am extremely fortunate that I work at the current place that I work, and that my insurance is chef's kiss, um, and will ultimately cover uh, a large chunk of the fees and all that stuff. So, because if it does, I need to get it approved. But if it does get approved, it'll cover 80% um, of one wheelchair every 5 years. And I have a like fund that I put a certain amount per paycheck uh, into that fund for anything that is not covered by insurance. So luckily, I am able to use that as well. So hopefully everything goes well today and that we can start the actual ordering process. And yeah, so like I said, I found that there wasn't much in terms of content for how to get to that first appointment for a fitting of a chair, especially when it's from the perspective of someone that doesn't have like paralysis, because ultimately I am going to be an ambulatory wheelchair user. My legs do still function, they just don't function properly. um, so ultimately, long term, I do see myself using the chair a lot more if I'm leaving the house. Basically, if I'm not in my home, I will probably be in the chair. Um, but we will see. We will see what comes of it. Um, and yeah, so that's been the journey so far. Like I said, decided to do a quick live because I've been thinking of doing a video on it and then kept forgetting because ADHD. Um, and yeah, so that's overall the situation for me. Um, like I said, right now, I think the plan is for me to get a Helio C2 as a trial chair. He doesn't have it in exactly the dimensions that I need, but he said that he can um, finagle something um, and go from there. And I hope that you guys are with me for the ride. Anyway, I will probably talk to you guys in the next week or so to update on the actual once I actually have the chair, the trial chair at least, and then go from there. And thank you for joining me on this adventure. Bye.